don't judge the way I look. If people get to be shaking their ass and doing all sorts of crazy things on the internet, then I get to be on the internet in my natural state. If you don't like the way I look, so um I don't know. I got the idea for this as I was walking home because I'm like, I need to make another video, but I feel like I've talked about everything. But um it's easy to talk about myself. At some point I want to get into like more educational videos where I'm actually giving like factual information. Because at this point in my life, I really like entertainment that has to do with factual information that I can go and fact check and be like, oh, this is new information. Like, I like to read, but I like to read books that are nonfiction. Like, so I can actually get information from it. Like, if I'm going to read and it takes a lot of effort to read, then I might as well be getting something information out of it. So at some point I want to move into that, but that's going to require another layer of effort. But I started working with a new client 2 weeks ago. So I've been working 50 hours a week. I never worked as much in my whole life. And the fact that I no longer have the luxury of being able to get into a car and go to work, I have to use public transportation. So I'm walking about 4 or 5 miles every day, trying to get on buses, making sure I'm getting there on time. Like, it's a lot of effort. But the thing is that, at an earlier point in my life, maybe even a couple months ago, I don't think that I could have survived this because I was not in the right mental space to be able to handle this type of adversity. I would have been miserable and I would have looked at it as, why me? Why does everything bad have to be this sucks? And I wouldn't have been able to do it. I wouldn't have been able to sustain it. But I look at it now as literally like adversity. Like, this is temporary. I am showing everybody that I'm willing to put the effort in. Like, this is how much I care. I care so much that I'm willing to wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning so that I can make sure I get on the bus on time. That like I'm trying to show everybody, like I care. And like I've been saying I care, but this is the actual moment where I get to prove and show that I care. And that is kind of like my motivation. It's just like I've never had to put this much effort into anything in my life. I've always been a very average, minimal person. I don't know why, but I guess it's like, why put effort in if, you know, I don't know. Because, like, even when it comes to school, like, we got prizes. Like, if we came home with like a good report card, we would get like prizes and stuff and rewards. But if we didn't have any like A's or B's or we didn't make honor roll, then it was like you didn't get anything and you got to see your other siblings get things. And the thing that used to piss me off about that was like, okay, a kindergartner has kindergarten work. And so my sister was in kindergarten and she would end up, coming home with A's and B's and like honor roll and stuff because she's in fucking kindergarten. Like, I don't know, like the logic to me, like, how can you compare two people who aren't on the same level? It's like, how are you going to compare a kindergartner to a fifth grader and then tell the kindergartner she's doing better than you because she's getting honor roll, but you're in fifth grade and you're not getting honor roll? That logic doesn't make sense. Like, I can understand the logic, but at the same time, it doesn't make sense to me. But so in school, I've always did the bare minimum. I would do things like fuck up the whole quarter. And then like at the end where like it really mattered and they were talking about how grades were going to be being closed for the quarter, that's when I'd finally like start studying and work my ass off. And then I would be able to get my grade up by the end of the quarter. So, but the more I went through school, the less I cared about my grades. My mind kind of like took over everything, and I don't know, like, just, I guess I could say like bad mental health contributed to the fact that I really didn't I don't want to say I didn't care, but it explained my, lack of performance. But I've never really had to put effort into anything. And so now this is the first time in my life where I actually have to put effort in. I actually have to push myself and encourage myself and plan and stay organized. And I love it because it keeps me in a state of being where it's like I feel strong mentally and I feel very capable because I know that I can do it. So I don't look at this experience as negative at all, but I'm not going to lie, it is definitely challenging. I've never walked this much in my life. My body is hurting, my thighs, my lower back. Like, my lower back hurts so bad. And I think it's because I don't really have any like support. Like, I think they call it like weak glutes, but like my glutes are weak and my core is weak. And because those are like stabilizing areas of your body, because mine isn't stabilized, a lot of the weight is put onto my lower back. And because of all this walking, it's just been hurting so bad. So I was looking up like different exercises I could do. And one of them was like glute bridges. So every night, I usually stretch every night. So what I'll do instead, not instead, but what I'll add on to the stretching is like doing a couple sets of those, and seeing how that feels over time. But so like I think the topic of the video I want to say should be called is like things I'm still salty about from like my life. And I say salty because like I'm not mad or bitter or upset necessarily about these things. It's just mm, like salty, I guess. So when I was, from the time that I was, I want to say 4 years old up until I want to say I was 6 years old, I was being sexually exploited by a very, very close family member. And at this time, it literally started, like, I can remember I was like playing, no, I was like sitting on the couch watching TV, literally in the same house that I'm in right now. It just, everything looked different, but I was sitting on the couch and this person comes over to me and shows me their laptop. And this is like 2008, 2009. So, YouTube just, started popping. Instagram was out, I think, Facebook. But anyway, I'm talking about it like because it feels ancient. Like, it does. It feels like such a long time ago. It's so crazy how time moves. But yeah, I was sitting on the couch and this person comes up to me and shows me this video of bestiality pornography. At the time, I didn't know what it was, but all I saw was these animals that had very curvy, voluptuous, naked bodies. And for some reason, in my 4-year-old mind, it did something to my brain where it like fascinated my brain. It was like, ooh. And it created feelings in me that I didn't know what they were, and I never had felt that before. And so from there, this person would continue to show me these things. There was a point where like I'd be playing by myself with my toys and this person would join and play with me, but they would like create different sexual scenarios that our toys would end up like, this person's toy would be the boyfriend and my toy would be the girlfriend. And they do boyfriend and girlfriend things, and then from that it moved on to like physical things where like me and this person are playing mommy and daddy, and where that leads to. I was very young. All I know is that, and I hate to say it, and I don't really understand it all the way, but some part of that did feel, I don't even want to say good, but it did something to my brain. It's like, I don't want to say good because then good makes it sound like I enjoyed it, but I don't really necessarily want to say that I enjoyed it. It was just like, I don't even know what I can compare it to. I don't know. But, that happened for a few years and then it stopped. But I think that this person got so afraid that I was going to pretty much rat them out and snitch on them, that this person would abuse me, I guess, to try to distract me from what they had previously done. Like one time, I can't remember if it was my stepmother or my stepsister, but it was one point where my stepmother was about to come out the room, and all of a sudden this person just boom, like right, like I can't, no, it was like right across my face. I think I was like 7 at the time. Right across my face, out of nowhere. I was like, I don't even know if I cried, but it was kind of like out of nowhere. This person would do things like bully me, get into fights with me. We would literally get into fights. Like there was this one time where I think this person had said something, and like I was dramatic, and I took their clothes and threw them in the dumpster. And everybody was like, Raymond, why did you do that? Da, 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 da. And so she had to go in the dumpster and get her clothes. I don't know, but it was toxic. But, this person would definitely do things to kind of, what I feel like is to like throw me off. Like, well, at least if I hit her real bad, she won't think about, XYZ. And then at one point, this person, got ratted out, but not by me. It was by my stepsister, who had been noticing things and finally told my father, what had been going on. And so my father called me into the room one day, and he's like, Rayma, like I thought I was about to get my ass beat. Because that was the only time my dad called me into the room, was when I was about to get my ass beat. And so I came into the room shaking, like a little trepidatious. And he's like, Rayma, has anybody ever touched you inappropriately? And I was like, no. And, I ended up telling him everything. And so what ended up happening was he called the cops, and now the legal system got involved, and the legal system had removed this person from my household. And my mom was devastated. She had no idea what was going on. And her claim was that, my mom was working 16-hour shifts, trying really hard to support us. So she did not have the time, or, because like when she was home, she was asleep. It was like we did find time to go do fun things, but it was like most of the time she was working, sleeping, trying to take care of us. So she was upset that my dad, called the police, because she felt like he was only doing it to get at her, to make her life more miserable. And then she got mad at me because she felt like I was also trying to make her life more miserable. Like pretty much like, you knew what you were doing. Like I'm already doing so much, and then you just blindside me with this. She was mad that I told him first, when in reality, I didn't tell him. He asked me. He called me into his room and he asked me. If she would have called me into the room and asked the same thing, I would have told her too. It wasn't like I was being biased. It was like he literally asked me. So, I remember, we were driving together a few days after that had happened, and she was, fussing about the whole situation. And she was like, you know what? You probably didn't tell anybody because you liked it. And I was like, she pretty much had just said that I liked being sexually exploited. Pretty much, I liked being perverted by somebody who was very, very close to me. And for a long time, she blamed that situation on me. And I felt it. And, I grew up for a long time thinking to myself, like, did I really like that? Did I really like being sexually exploited? Like, did like, and that's where I come from. I'm like, did I like it? And it's like, I don't think I did. It's not something that I'd be like, yeah, let's do that again. It wasn't like that at all. I don't really know how to explain it other than, no, I didn't like it, but I didn't tell anybody. I didn't say anything, but I did when I was asked about it. I didn't lie and say no. Like, he asked me and I told him. I guess I just felt like there wasn't really a need to tell anybody, because I wasn't being hurt or anything, during those experiences. But that the first encounter like that is the first type of situation where I can say that everybody around me seemed to want to take away my innocence. That's how it literally feels like, felt growing up. It's like everybody was always trying to take that away. Like, just because we're dirty, we're going to make you dirty. Just because we know all these creepy, freaky things, we're going to make you creepy and freaky. Like, I didn't really get a decision. I didn't really get a choice because I didn't really get to control my environment. I didn't get to control the people I was around. I was around them. So all these people pretty much, I feel like, dirtied me up. And for a long time, I felt that way. There was this time where, like, okay, so like, yeah, that's something I'm still salty about, with my mom. And, a few months ago, I hadn't spoken to her about it. I haven't spoken about that in years with her. Like, it's been at least over 10 years where I've spoken about it. Because that happened back when I was like 6 or 7, I want to say. Yeah. I mean, I remember that day. It was just like my mom weeping and crying and just like torn apart because things were going to be changing and she didn't have any really control over it. But I know that if she would have had control over it, and let's say she was the one who found out, she wouldn't have called the cops, and there probably wouldn't have been nothing more than a slap on the wrist and just like very strong supervision for this person. Whereas my dad, I feel like what he did was best, honestly. Like, if you have somebody in your home who is being a pervert to the other children there, they need to be removed. Like, that needs to not happen. And why would you keep this person in your home to continue for that to happen? The only thing is, when stuff like this happens, rehabilitation is needed. Like, you can't just do the punishment and then expect this person to be changed because they got punished for it. It's like, no, there needs to be some reconciliation. There needs to be some type of rehabilitation to understand why this person had this thought pattern and this whole idea in their head in the first place. Because who knows, maybe that person who was sexually exploiting me was sexually exploited themselves, so they already had those distortions and that lack of empathy and understanding. But what I can say is that experience, I had no idea when it happened that would affect me for the rest of my life. I had no idea. I had no idea that would have any type of impact on me ever. And as I look back at my life, I can see clearly how it has affected me, being introduced to something like that so young. So yeah, I'm still salty about that. Yeah, because like I was saying a few months ago, me and my mom have been good. Like, we're kind of, I feel like we're friends. Like, I feel like we could be good friends. But for me, I do always have this slight, like, I would say a little anxiety around her, because it's like I have to be careful, because she might say something that shows me how she actually feels about something. And then it's like, oh, well, that's how you actually feel? Like, I don't know how to explain it. It's like I have to be careful to not expose myself too much and kind of stay on a certain level with her, because I already know how she is and I know how I am. And so, I was feeling a little comfortable, and I said to her, do you remember when you told me that I didn't tell anybody what was happening because I liked it? And she was like, yeah. And I don't remember what I said after that, but she pretty much went on to not take any type of accountability, not apologize, but went on to explain why she said that. but her explanation for it had nothing to do with me. It was an explanation about her own experience and why she said that. But again, there was no like, oh, I'm sorry, because saying something like that to a child could really like fuck up the way that they think about themselves and people in general. So, you know, it just made me realize like, it's no point. Like, I love you, but I know that you won't ever be able to see me. And you've never been able to see me, I feel like. So I'm not surprised. Like, one of the things that kind of irritate me in life is when people try to compliment me. Because when I hear somebody about to say, oh, Rayma, you're doing a good job, or XYZ, like somebody be like, Rayma, you did a good job. And I'm like, no. Like, okay, like, perfect example. Like, I'll be at work and my boss will be like, yeah, good day at work today. Keep up the great work. And I'm like, well, what did I do that's good? And then it's like, I start hearing all these generic things. And that makes me disappointed because it's like, oh, you didn't even see me. Like, you weren't even paying attention. So it's like, I'd rather you not even try to compliment me than to give me some, you know, generic compliments. Like, I think the best compliments are when you can tell that somebody actually sees you. It isn't generic. It isn't cookie cutter. It's like, I actually see you. And I try my best to do that for people. Try to acknowledge them in ways that are specific instead of kind of like, I don't know, that's just a me thing. But I'm still salty about that. Like, you know, she'll never admit that. I don't know if she ever will, but as far as, you know, but it's like, I don't care because I've moved on. You know, I know what I know, and I know that it wasn't right. And I know what she said was not right, because I would never say that to anybody. And even if I did, I'd go back and apologize. Like, there isn't any reason to stand by statements that you don't even agree with because you were emotionally charged then. It's like, to me, that only just shows how, like, bad, like, not bad, but only just shows how childish you are if you can't, you know. It's just, I'm so salty about that. Another thing I'm salty about is my dad. So I've reconnected with my dad the past 2 years. Before these 2 years, I hadn't spoken to him since I was like 13. And my dad, he's always been a part of my life, but he's not been a present part of my life for most of my life. You know, my parents had split custody, so he would get us on the weekends. But kind of when I turned like 12 or 13, that was when like it kind of just stopped and he stopped picking me up. You know, a lot of things changed. And so a few years ago, you know, I was living my life, and I guess what happened was he asked my mom for my phone number. My mom asked me if it was okay, and I was like, yeah, you can give it to him. And so he calls me, and we, you know, strike up conversations. And then, you know, it felt nice to like reconnect. Like, he was reaching out to me. I wasn't reaching out to him, and he was genuinely showing me that he wanted to be a part of my life, and he enjoyed being a part of my life and and having access to me. And I did too. Like, it felt really nice. But the more I talked with him, the more that I realized that I was so glad that I was not growing up under his authority, and that my mom was the main parent, because if I would have grew up with him, I would have been one miserable child. And then two, it made me realize that if we ever spent time together one-on-one, I probably would not enjoy my time with him, because it would be pretty much be me trying to keep my mouth shut to avoid conflict, because he says a lot of things that are wrong, a lot of things that are emotionally immature. And I just can't sit around people like that. Like, I'd be wanting to correct and say no. Like, I couldn't, I'd be exhausted. So, you know, like, I was talking to him a couple weeks ago, and, you know, him and my mom, they haven't spoken in years. Like, they have nothing to do with each other. But yeah, we were on the phone talking a couple weeks ago, and he calls my mom a bitch. And I'm like, who are you talking to? Like, why are you calling my mom out her name? She don't give a fuck about you. She don't talk about you, don't want nothing to do with you. Yeah, you're over here calling her out her name. Like y'all still got some strife going on. My mom ain't worried about you. And it really just helped me to understand, like, yeah, it's cool if we talk on the phone for a little bit, let him run his mouth, talk about the pineal gland and all the government conspiracies, and that's it. Like, at the end of the day, that's all it is. I care for you, love you, but at the end of the day, I don't actually like you. Like, I could not get along with you if it wasn't for the blood that we shared. The blood that we share. Um, when I was younger, he had this like obsession with like beating us, but it wasn't like a beating, it was a spanking. And he had bought this paddle, like a paddle that you use to row a boat, but it was like shorter. And his plan was to drill holes in it so that when he spanked us, it would suction and hurt you a lot more. And so like when he would whip you with this, when he would spank us with this thing, you had to stand at a certain angle. Like he would literally show you how to stand and like hold that position so that when he hit you, it would actually hurt. And it wasn't like a boom, boom, boom. It was like a boom. Ah! Get back into position. Come on, get back into position. Okay. Boom. Ah! And it was just this whole experience. And there was this one time where I was literally going to pee on myself and he wasn't going to let me go. And if it wasn't for my stepmother who was sitting there watching the whole thing, if it wasn't for her telling my father, go ahead and let her pee, he was not going to stop. And then he going to be like, oh, if you pee on my floor, I'm going to whip you again. And so, I remember all that. I didn't forget it, And then sometimes at the end of those spankings, he'd, force me to sit on his lap and he'd hug me and say, I don't hate you. I'm only doing this because, no, he'd be like, it was some bullshit. Like, this hurts me more than it hurts you. And, just for my father, it was just like I was scared to be around him. Like, that still makes me salty because to this day, he will never admit that that was wrong. I understand discipline, but discipline should not be humiliating. Discipline is a form of correction. So if I'm spanking you after you did something wrong, no, because he wouldn't even spank me after I did something wrong. It wasn't like I did something wrong and then he spanked me. It was build up, build up, build up, build up. And when you finally have did the last thing, that's when I'm going to beat you. So I'm actually beating you for like 5 things you did wrong. And it's just gotten too much and I'm ready to do it now because you've pissed me off. And so a lot of the discipline I experienced as a kid wasn't actually discipline. It was humiliation and it was definitely emotionally charged. And so I'm salty about that because to this day, he will not admit that that was wrong. He will stand by that 100%. And because of that, it's like, I can't get along with you. I can't get along with somebody who thinks that correcting their children is spanking them with the paddle and having them pose so that you can hit them in the right position so that it actually hurts, and then forcing them to hug you afterwards and tell them that you love them, even though their butt is like stinging and sore. Like, and the crazy thing is like, that wasn't, the spanking seemed like it was the first measure for discipline. It wasn't like, oh, I'm gonna give you a warning and I'm gonna give you a warning. It was like, it wasn't even like that. Like, because I wasn't with my dad all week. So it was like, he would be like, because like in school we had these clips, red, that was like red, yellow, green, purple. So if you were on purple, that meant you were doing the best that day. If you want green, that means you were good. If you want yellow, that means you needed a warning. If you want red, that means you need a phone call home. And so he had heard that I was getting on like red and yellow. And he was like, if you get on red at one more time, I'm going to spank you. And so, yeah, I'm going to literally tell you the whole story. So, I ended up getting on red that day. I don't know how I did it. I must have did something, but I got on red. And at the end of the school day, I knew my father would be there. And I was just screaming and crying, begging them not to let me go home. I was even asking the teachers, could I go home with them? Because I just did not want to go to my dad. I knew that he was going to beat me. And so, I'm begging them, and finally they're like, no, you gotta go. And I go with my dad. It's like the whole ride home, I'm like silent, like I'm quiet. And to get to his house, it was a good 45 minutes, so I ended up falling asleep. And so, we get to the house, and my stepmother was like, go ahead and take out your hair, because she had put braids in my hair. And so, she told me to go, cut it out, like cut the braids and take it out. So, we get into the house. I've been quiet the whole ride. He ain't say nothing. I ain't say nothing. So I started looking around the kitchen for the scissors, because they're kitchen scissors. And I usually see them in the kitchen. And at one point I had even seen them in the refrigerator, because there's like 7 different people in that house. So I don't know why they were in the fridge, but I, honest to God, had seen them in the fridge. And so what happened was, I'm looking for them, can't find them. So I opened the fridge to look for the scissors. And my dad comes out of the room and he's like, Raymond, what are you doing? And I was like, I'm looking for the scissors. And he's like, no, come on, because I need to give you a whipping anyway. And I was like, I'm not lying. Like I wasn't lying. Like, I was actually trying to find the scissors, because that's where I had seen them before. But he didn't care. He didn't understand that. And so I ended up getting my tail whipped. And, I was too salty about that. I'm too salty about a lot of things. And I guess the last thing I'll say is, another thing I'm salty about is my grandmother. And this is touchy for me, because she's in a very vulnerable position right now where, she can't do anything for herself, and she is completely reliant on everybody else to get her needs met. And the part that hurts is, I want to help, but I also remember how she hurt me. And so it's hard for me to kind of push down that hurt and pretend like it didn't happen to take care of you, even though you hurt me. My grandmother was very religious, and there was a point in time where I had my own car, but what was I doing? Oh, I had my own car, and I ended up smoking some weed and coming in the house just acting crazy, waking everybody up. I understand. I was being chaotic, 100% understand. And my mom at the time, I came in the house acting crazy. So then the next day happened, everything happened. Next day came, and my grandmother was all like, yeah, when your mom leaves, you're leaving too. Cause she was like, I'm not, like, she said it as if like she just hated the fact that I was there, and just like, I don't know, like the tone in her voice was just like disgusting me. Like, she was completely disgusted in me, and there was no empathy for anything. Like, there was no trying to understand. It was just, this thing that she's doing just doesn't feel right. And I don't know, it was just this deep disgust. And so then what ended up happening a few months later was my mom moved out. And then once I got my money together, I was, talking about moving out. And at this point, that situation where I came in the house high and everything, that was months ago, like months earlier. And so now they're like, oh, Rayma, you need to move out because it's causing too much strife between us. Because what was happening is, I honestly think that my grandmother, she wasn't jealous, but there was a part of her that did not like the attention that I was getting from my grandfather versus her. Because my grandmother forever has been trying to feed me the narrative that my grandfather is a terrible person. He's a bad man. He's crooked. He's corrupted. And that's how all Black females seem to be about their partners. It's like they're always trying to express to you how bad their husbands are, how bad their boyfriends are, how niggas ain't shit, and all this shit. And I'm like, you're the one who's with them. But you want everybody else to feel the same animosity you feel towards them, even though that's your man. And that's exactly what she did. And as I got to know my grandfather, I was like, wait a minute, he's not how she makes him seem. And it was like she could never say anything positive about him, even though he could say many positive things about her. If I was like, yeah, I just saw Granddaddy Kirk out there, or I could be like, I just saw granddaddy out there. And she's like, yeah, he was so disrespectful last night. It was always something negative, and it irritated me because I'm like, why are you trying to manipulate my mind? Every single, like, it honestly is manipulation when you're trying to force me to think some way about a person because that's how you want me to think about them, because that's how you feel. And so, I, had a good relationship with my grandfather, and, I'd never seen, this side of him before. And so, I felt like our relationship was growing, and he would talk and have conversations with me. And if we were talking, she'd start yelling for him to get his attention, as if like he wasn't allowed to talk to me. And he even said it. He was like, "What, are you jealous?" And like, I was kind of like, "Oop," like he said it, not me. So, they were like, "Oh, you need to leave because it's causing too much strife between us." And I'm like, "I'm not even doing anything to y'all, but oh well, whatever." So then a few months later, I live on my own. And they're like, yeah, I was like, I think I want to move back in. And they were like, yeah, Rayma, like, come on, move back in. There's nothing wrong with that. We want you here. We love when you're here. And they were pretty much, saying that there was no problems with me moving back in. So now I moved back in earlier January. And my grandmother's health has been like slowly declining. And now it's at a point where she needs my help. And it's kind of like, and it's like I try to tell myself, like, oh, this woman has literally sustained your life. Like, if it wasn't for her, you wouldn't have what you have now. And that may be true, but that also may not be true. And I don't know if what I'm doing is wrong. Like, I don't know if me trying not to give her credit for my life is wrong. I don't know, but it's like there is this little bit in me that's like, no, like, you hurt me. You manipulated me. You hurt me. You manipulated me. There has been no apology. There's been no mutual understanding, but you want me to help you, and you want to call me and blow up my phone to help you use the bathroom, really? And it's like, oh, I'm the bad person if I don't come and help. But I don't know, like, that's a hard thing to deal with, because it's like, how can you help somebody who's hurt you, won't acknowledge your hurt, but they want your help? And it's like I'm supposed to be the bigger person and just be like, psh, let me help you. And I do, like, I do help. And I will not deny the help unless I set boundaries. I did say, if it's earlier, if my alarm has not gone off, I'm not going to get up and help. Like, I don't feel like I should have to wake up out of my sleep, especially on a work day, to come and help. You can call your husband, the husband that you've been talking shit about for the past couple of years. Like, you can call him. And so, I'm salty about that. And yeah, my mouth is so dry. But that seems to be the story of my life. People trying to control my mind, people trying to feed me narratives, people destroying my innocence, people not giving a fuck about the fact that I was a child and I should have had better influences